So welcome to Pepe's Bar. It was the time to have Lisa Crispin with us. So Lisa, thanks so much for accepting the invitation. Welcome to Pepe's Bar.
It's my pleasure. I'm honored to be here.
Thank you. Thank you. And it's an honor for us to count with you here. But you are a friend of the family, so everything is fine. So when I look at you, I see a very strong woman. Of course, you are funny, you are clever, you are committed to the community, and a lovely person, and I like that very much. But I don't know if that's the picture that you see of yourself. How do you see yourself?
Well, I suffer from poor self-esteem and imposter syndrome, but I try to let in the love that people give me. So it's a mixture. I'm just
Really?
I'm a very anxious person. So
Yeah, really? Do you have? Because if for myself, when I see you, you are so secure person.
well, see, I'm good at faking it. Fake it till you make it.
Yeah, that's my motto, as you know.
People who see me at conferences and stuff, they wouldn't realize I'm actually a very shy person, but you have to adjust to get to the places you want to be with the people you want to be with. So
Okay.
well, good.
I didn't know that because I think everybody has doubts moments where you don't know things clear, but on the business part, really, because you are, you are who you are.
I am, but I'm a weird combination of I'm shy, but I'm persistent, and sometimes I really want things to happen. So
Okay.
I have to use my elbows.
Yeah. Do you see yourself as a shy person?
Definitely. I mean, I can't even pick up the phone and call people in my family. I hate calling people on the phone.
Okay.
Because I'm just too shy. I'd be interrupting them or.
Yeah. Do you know there's the situation for many actors and artists that they are quite shy or introverts or whatever, but then when they need to go out, so they are the stars and there's no problem, and then they go back and hide themselves, and when I look at you now, I start to thinking, because when I see you at the Agile testing days, I see you all the time communicating with people. So I don't see you shy, hidden in a corner. So the opposite.
That's interesting. I hadn't thought about actors. I have heard that. I mean, I think it's just, at Agile testing days, I just feel comfortable there. So it's not a problem there. But, if I were to go to a conference I'd never been before and I didn't know very many people, that would definitely be hard.
Yeah. But I think normally many people are like, I am also like that. If the first time I'm in somewhere, so I try to be invisible.
Yeah.
Try to.
Yeah. Corner.
Even if I don't think I am introvert, I don't think so. But I try not to be on the first row. Yeah, that's the same. So interesting for me because we are more or less in the same age.
I'm more of an age than you are, that's for sure.
No one knows. And I remember that when I start studying, I think I was the first semester at the university who got really desktops, so that we start also programming on desktops. If not, we had this big machine. How did start your professional career? How was that?
Well, I originally studied agriculture. I have a degree in animal science with a specialty in beef cattle production. because I wanted to be what we call here a county agent. So the United States government has an extension service that helps farmers and ranchers and
Oh,
people, learn better ways to raise their livestock or plant their, you know, manage their pastures or their vegetables or whatever it is. And as a child, I had horses, and I was in the 4-H organization, which is an organization for kids to learn how to take care of your animals. And they have shows and events and stuff, and they just teach you a lot. So I was on the one for horses, and I really appreciated our county agent, who at all our meetings, the county agent led the meetings and taught us things and organized things. And I thought, oh, I want to do that when I grow up. And I don't know, it just seemed fun. And at the time, the university where you would go to do that didn't allow women.
oh,
So where you would go major in the right kind of thing.
wow.
And so I thought, well, I can't do it. And then my last year of high school, they decided to admit women. I thought, oh, good, I can do this. But first, I had a gap year in Paris, and then I came back, and I, this is the early to mid 1970s, and so I started my classes and just really enjoyed it and I loved the courses. And I majored in beef cattle because they didn't actually at the time have a way to major in horse things.
Mhm.
And I was interested in cattle.
Okay.
And I really enjoyed everything, but I realized very soon that at the time they were not going to hire a woman and to be a county agent to be for livestock. They said you could do home economics, teach people how to cook. And I just said, like I say, I'm shy. And back then, now I probably say, well, wait a minute. But back then I was shy, and I thought, well, okay, I'm not going to fight that battle. But I really enjoy these courses, so I'll just keep on and get my degree.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. And how did you move from this part to the IT? How was this
Yeah.
transition?
Well, I didn't know what to do since I couldn't be a county agent. And so I thought that I got a letter from the business school at the university where I went, and they said, "Oh, come get an MBA." And I thought, "Oh, well, if I had an MBA with my agriculture degree, I could go work for like an agriculture, like I could go work for Purina or somebody. I don't know who you have in Europe that makes animal feed, but so that seemed like a good idea. So I went and got my MBA. And that again, very interesting, very fun. This is just again, did I maybe had one or two computer courses or had to use, SAS or something for research projects and stuff. But I was staying away from computers. People were still using punch cards back then. I was not going that way.
This was back in the 80s or end
70s, the
80s?
70s. So
70s.
so yeah, I wasn't gonna get involved in punching out punch cards. It's like, "Ugh, no computers." And you couldn't, there wasn't a computer science major back then. You could major in electrical engineering.
Yeah. Mhm.
So so I got my MBA, and I didn't go into agriculture because I discovered all those companies at the time were located in parts of the United States where I didn't want to live. So I had a research job with the engineering extension service. So there's the agriculture extension service that helps farmers. There's the engineering extension service that helps local governments and state governments and stuff figure out things like, in our case, the agency I work for, how to save money paving the roads, or how to be more efficient in your human resources policies, or how to maintain the parks for less money. And so I did research. I was on a team doing research and managing research projects. So we would get grants, and we would get a professor to lead the research. And the interesting thing, though, I was on the early stages of the internet because I would watch these things that came out on a teletype, and it would tell you, newsletters of, oh, new technique for paving the roads, or, whatever. And so then I had a newsletter that all our cities and local governments that we work with, I'd send out a newsletter with all this information from this, what was in, the beginning of the internet. So that was really interesting. But then Reagan got elected, 82, and a lot of the research got cut. He wasn't into it. So I was like, wow, I need a job. And I wanted to live in Austin, Texas. Um, so I went to Austin, Texas, and I was interviewing for jobs. And people were like, oh, you work for the government. That's not a real job. You have no experience. What? But I went into the University of Texas Employment Office, and there was a big sign that said, programmer trainees wanted, no experience necessary. And I thought, that's me. So I went in and that day took an aptitude test, apparently did well on it. And they were looking for people with domain knowledge because they had their own training program for programming. So they wanted people with various domain knowledge like library science or, different things to help the different academic departments. And they wanted somebody with a business background, accounting, finance, all the things. So I was like, oh, MBA, perfect. Well, you're hired. So I got hired the same day. And they had a wonderful training program. It was a wonderful place to work. And I thought, well, I'll do this for a while until I decide what I want to do. But then after a few years, I realized I really liked doing it. So I kept up with it.
Not bad, not bad. And then how do you move quickly to the next stage?
What do you mean by next stage?
I mean, you start, okay, you did this, you started working there, and now you are where you are. And the way you go, because I think you work as programmer, right?
Yeah, I was a programmer analyst is what we called ourselves. But yeah, it was all serendipity. Not like you, Pepe, where you just had all these great ideas and you were an entrepreneur and you started your own businesses. And you came from a different background too, right?
True. Yeah, true. I mean, I am and you are you. And I mean, but I think that in my case, no one told me that I cannot do that because I am a man.
That's true.
That's a big difference. I mean, I remember that when I was in school, and in the 8th class, and this is the time when you change to go to the, I don't know, called college or middle school, high school, high school. High school. And I remember in this, the teacher told my mother, so it's better for him to learn a profession than to go to the high school.
Oh.
And I was there and said, I'm stupid, or why?
Weird.
Why? Okay, my marks were not that good because I was playing all the time, but doesn't mean that I was stupid or I was not able to learn. And then they said, okay, you need to go to learn first. So my first profession is I'm electrical master, or I don't know how you call that. So specialized on robotics and so on. So and then I started studying later on, but I didn't have the constraints that you have. And even when I came to Germany, I mean, first of all, I'm coming from Spain, yeah, and even if it sounds now a little bit strange, but I was good looking.
Sure.
It helps, and it helps really when you are nice, and I'm nice and friendly. So it was easy to move forward, and I have good marks at the university and so on. So was fine, but I know that especially in the field where we are, and especially many years back, being a woman was not that easy, no? Or you were one of very few, right?
No, not at all. I started so long ago, 1982, that programming was still a low-paid, low-status profession. So if you think about the history of computers, the men were working on the hardware, so the engineers were doing the hardware, and the women were doing the data entry and the programming. So that was considered busy work. Programming originally was flipping switches in the back of the computer. So that was a low status job and low paid, and so women got hired for it. But by the 70s moving into the 80s, the hardware problems were kind of getting solved. And now people realize we need good software. We need something to run on this hardware. And software started to become more important. But when I started, it was still it wasn't a bad pay, but it wasn't much more than I had been making as a research associate for a government agency.
Mm-hmm.
And there were just as many women as men.
When I started also as a programmer, and I stopped it because I couldn't switch off. Even in the night, I was thinking all the time, and I said, okay, I will turn crazy because I couldn't switch off. Okay? So that's strange. So that's the thing. So for your professional life, in which part or which job was for you the best one? When you said, okay, I learn a lot, or the people, or whatever, which one was the best for you?
I've been so lucky to be on so many great teams. It's really hard to pick. My very first one, I was working for a university. They had a great training program where it was, if you looking back, I see it was quite what we would call Agile, but cohort was trained by the cohort before, because the best people to teach you something are the ones who just learned it. We had a really great education program. We also taught people out in the academic departments. We had a 4GL product that we used so that anybody could learn it, so they could learn to make their own reports or their own basic user interfaces. So we had a whole education program, which at one point I ran, because when I started learning to program, and I don't know, and you learned, but the manuals were terrible. Oh my gosh. And I thought, when I grow up, I'm going to write decent user manuals so people can learn this stuff. So I've always been interested in education and training.
But do you know that there is a study? At the beginning, the people use COBOL and Fortran and so on. Mm-hmm. And I did my thesis. I don't know what you call it, metrics for software. And there were a research that said, for example, that people coming outside from UK and USA, Canada, people who really the mother language was English, that people coming outside, they need more line of code than the people coming from US and UK and Canada and whatever, because the understanding of the language also right, and to put the things was more easier and logical for you than for people coming from outside. And their numbers at that time, 150 years ago, they said 27 more line of code times than 27 times more line of code than other people from outside. And that's amazing. Yeah, that's why when you said, okay, learning and books and so on. So the other people outside the sea, they have more problems with that, or different problems. So the point for me is, or what I that's why I ask you. So because I know that. When even as a man, you have a problem because people are chasing you about the knowledge, or because you are in the first row, whatever. We see you, we see Janet, we see other that are quite at the front, and you embody a lot of knowledge, and you are sharing a lot of knowledge. And do you think that you get the full recognition from the men? Because I think all the women are behind you and say, wow, you are a role model. Do you think that there are men there that they, I don't know how you say this in English, but they said, okay,
I mean,
I want to
I
know, I don't want to know names.
no, but I mean, yeah. I mean, through my career, it was clear to me that although, like I say, I've always generally been lucky and worked for really good companies and on really good teams. But it was clear to me that men were making more money and getting more recognition. In fact, in the mid '80s, I had a manager. I was working for a German software company actually at the time, and my manager during a managers meeting said, "Everybody, I want to write everybody's name on the whiteboard and how much they make." So they wrote everybody's name and let's look what the men are making and these women are they're doing the same job. So I had managers like that equalized the pay, but even so, I mean, I could tell men were getting promoted or getting raises, and I thought, I know more than that guy. But at
But
the same time, I didn't suffer from any active harassment or abuse, which I find really lucky in a 40
yeah,
plus year career.
yeah, but
So, and certainly in the industry, I mean, I was just talking with somebody else who's been on your Pepe's Bar before the other day about this, is that women just like if a woman leader posts something intelligent and useful on LinkedIn, some people will go and like it and whatever. If a man does, and even if it's basically the same information, they'll get hundreds of likes and reposts and some days I get really tired of the patriarchy and it gets me really depressed. But yeah, we just have to keep on, and I keep telling other women, and of course we have lots of allies too, like you. That you got to boost the women because they don't get the visibility.
yeah,
There's just a long history behind that, and it's not just our profession.
yeah.
So
But I mean, and this is interesting for me because, for example, I like to work better with and for women than for men because and the communication is totally different, and I think the best times in the projects that I have been working in all the projects that were led by women were the best one, and the communication was best one, and I think that if you see, there is seldom, very seldom, that a woman is really bullying. Yeah, it is always a man. It's always a man, and we see also in our profession, there's always a man. And for myself, for example, if I look at you and what I said at the beginning, for me, it's incredible to see how much power, time, love you put into the community. When I see that you take care of people, talk to them, you help them to create papers or review the papers, and even people that no one's know and approach you and you say, okay, let's make together a talk, or let's make together a workshop. Why?
well, that's interesting. I mean, part of it is paying it forward because so many people help me. Part of it is, back in the aughts or the naughties, whatever we want to call them, the 2000s. I'm going to conferences, agile conferences, testing conferences, and yes, there were women track speakers, but very few women keynoters or women doing the workshops, the things that get money. And I was talking with different people about this, and one of them was Deborah Hartman, and people were starting them on the mentoring programs like Tech Voices and stuff. But even before that, she's like, well, why don't you just pair with people that are not getting accepted to conferences, because you're getting accepted, you're being invited. And I thought that's a great idea. So that's when I started it. Almost everything I did, I said, okay, well, I'll do this, but I need to pair with this other person. Will you comp them to? And most of them would do it, not all of them. And almost all the people I've ever paired with that were new to speaking, when I paired with them, have gone on to way greater speaking careers than I have. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah, that's for me. seeing that is incredible. And I have also the feeling, no? Maybe we can talk about that. That of course you want to support the people and so on, but on the other side, when I look at you, I see the person that never stops learning.
Mhm.
Right? You are
Yeah.
always on the road, learning things, doing new things, and so on.
And what better way to learn? I've learned so many things by pairing up. And the thing is, if somebody pairs with me for a workshop at Agile Testing Days, and then they apply to some other conference, they've spoken at Agile Testing Days. They're a known quantity. They're going to get the opportunities. And but I mean, over the years, the people I've paired with and the things I've learned, Lisa Haka, Lena Pigan, Stephanie Desby, Joellen Carter, Rachel Kibler. So Rachel, as an example, last year, after Agile Testing Days 2022, we were talking, and I said, "Hey, do you want to do a workshop with me?" And now she is an experienced speaker, but I just really enjoy working with her. And she said, "Yeah, let's do a workshop." And I said, "Well, what topic should we do?" And she said, "Let's do using AI with testing." And something I knew really nothing about. And the whole year focused on learning more about the different tools and I took advantage of some workshops with James Lindsay that he was so kind to do. And just took every opportunity reading and trying things out. I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have prioritized that. There's so much to learn. But because I had to teach, the best way to learn something is to teach it. So, so yeah, it's been great for me with Stephanie Desby. I learned a whole lot about cognitive bias, and that's become one of my favorite topics and to speak about and learn about. And yeah, Lisa Haka, I learned a lot about experimenting and how to design experiments from her. So it just goes on and on. And yeah, it's a little overwhelming though, because there's so much to learn and it just
Yeah.
keeps expanding.
Is this the secret why you are so young?
It's kind of tiring though.
Yeah, because I think because of course we are getting older, okay. But when I look at you and in the way how you do the things with the people, you are always involved and so on. I don't see that you are getting older. You really, I think that, and I don't know if this is the secret of being involved with all these young people, doing the things, supporting people, learning and so on. So you're busy all the time. Do you think that this is a solution, maybe the solution for myself?
Well, I mean, of course, all the time I had a full-time job till a couple of years ago. Let's face it, I was mostly working with people who I could be their grandmother by this point. And I mean, most 99% of the time, they just treated me like a peer and like anybody. And it was really fun to work with them and be around all that energy. And so I think it does kind of keep you in a young mindset. And conversely, I have role models of people like Linda Rising, uh,
Yes, Linda
who is
Rice.
ageless, right? And talk about learning.
Yeah,
She's doing serious research.
yeah,
And I look at people like that and think, oh, that's I want to keep at it. I see the joy that brings people, and just helping to keep. We have so many problems to solve in the software world, and
okay.
if we could share some ways to solve problems that maybe have been proven out in there, maybe not for everybody, but things for people to try, then we can move on to the next problem because there's always another problem to solve. And that's been one of the motivations for me and Janet writing our books and stuff too. It's like, okay, we've talked to a lot of people. We all had these problems. We all solved them kind of the same way. So here,
Yeah.
now let's work on the next problems. So I think it's helping everybody when we do that.
Yeah. If you look back to the young Lisa Crispin, which recommendation, which hints would you like to give her for the life?
I don't know. I was just thinking about like Agile Testing Days. I feel like being invited by you to the first Agile Testing Days changed my life in some ways, because I don't know, it just meant I met a bunch of people who kind of led me down this direction, right? It just it opened a lot of doors for me, and then I was able to open a lot of doors for other people. I mean, if I could go back to the younger Lisa, I would try to give myself more confidence. And, don't worry about things that may never happen. But I mean, I have to say, I was more confident when I was younger, because, anytime I started a new job or a new project, if I didn't know something, I was confident I could learn it.
The only hint that that would give me, if I look at the young Pepe 50 years ago, I would say, save money.
Well, money, because I was spending it all on horses. So, you make your choices.
Yeah, of course. That's when it is tough, where do you go? Whom are you talking?
I'm sorry?
When it's tough, really, when it's tough, when you said, okay, terrible, who's the person who you talk to?
Janet. She's trying to retire, but I won't leave her alone. I've been very lucky to have Janet on my side for golly.
Yes.
Oh,
She's yeah, she's the best. Yeah, but she knows that. I've been talking to her many times, and I have learned so much from YouTube and from her too. And that's very nice, because she's tough. She's tough, and she has a direction. She runs in the way, and that's very nice. Yeah. So, what is the blessing in your life? What is a blessing in your life?
Well, you and all the Agile Testing Days community are a big one. My husband, who, without him, I couldn't have done any of this.
Yes.
And just, I feel so lucky to have we live in Vermont now, and we loved Colorado too, but living in a beautiful, quiet area with the donkeys and nice friends, and just being able to slow down a bit.
Yeah.
And I have more time now, because I don't have a full-time job. I actually have very little paid work right now, but I'll keep trying. But I have time to give back to the community, mentor people, help with open source projects, whatever it is, review papers for conferences. It's great to have that time, because when you're working full-time and writing books on the side and all that, it's like, I'd really like to do something for the community via these open source tools that I've been using for free all these years, whatever. It's nice to have an opportunity. So that's a real blessing, to have the capacity to be able to not work for pay as much, and get to do things I enjoy and give back. So I'm very lucky.
Yeah.
As the conference says, he says, be lucky and appreciate your luck. And
thanks so much. Back to the only one thing about the Agile Testing Days. Okay, we set the frame. Okay, but the Agile Testing Days is all of you. So of course we need to put this frame, but at the end of the day, you all are the one who really set up the things and create the atmosphere and so on. Of course, we need to give you also the love, but you the community. I had a very interesting meeting today with Tarek King about that, and his flash, because for him there's no other conference as like the Agile Testing Days.
I'm sorry, say again.
I think that we are unique. We are unique in the sense, and we don't copy anyone, and everybody has the right to be there and have their own conference and run it the way they want to run it. That's okay. But we are like we are, and that's interesting. But this was Bob. Yeah, Bob, like you said, Bob, your husband is a blessing too, and he have been many times in Potsdam at the conference, and he does belong also to the community, and the people knows him and love
Absolutely.
him.
Yeah.
That.
I don't know if it's my internet that's messing up or what, but you keep
But
freezing up.
how did you meet Bob?
Well, I was working on a prototype of the first online card catalog for a library at University of Texas. And my job was to take all these catalog records from the Library of Congress and load them into our database. So there were 26 unformatted tapes, meaning you couldn't tell where the end of one tape was in the beginning. If a record would just stop in the middle of a tape. So you had to write the code that could be smart enough to connect all these records together.
Okay.
And you also had to write the JCL and the JES2 to tell the operators when and how to mount the tapes. It was incredibly complex. And so it was a Friday. I had kicked off the job. I would have to monitor it all weekend because it ran for many hours. And I was in a bad mood. But I thought, we had a Friday afternoon happy hour club at work. We go to the student union at the University of Texas and drink. And I thought, well, I'll just go have a beer and then I'll come back and check on the job. And then I'll go home and paint my kitchen. And so I went to the happy hour club and I sat down, and this handsome young man poured me a beer. Nobody had ever poured me a beer.
Wow.
That happened. So I was immediately smitten.
Okay. It's dangerous to buy a beer for a woman.
The beer was already bought. There were pitchers on the table, but it was always self-serve. So yeah, we went out dancing that night. It's like, well, come with me. I had to check on my job, and then let's go out dancing. And then he could waltz. So
Okay.
I was really sold then.
Okay. And who asked whom to be a couple, or?
Well, he did ask me out to dance that night, but I had to pursue him pretty hard after that.
Yeah. Okay.
I had to be really persistent.
Okay. How many years have you been together?
Oh, well, we've been together almost 40 years, but we've been married for 30 years.
Wow.
But we shacked up for 8 or 9 years before we finally got married. So
Yeah. That's good.
You don't want to rush into these things,
I mean, in my first marriage, I think we were 8 years together without being married, and then we married and so on, and so I really don't care. And the second time, I didn't want to marry, and then I said, why not? And then I asked my wife, and then she said yes. So that's nice. So I'm a lucky man.
I'd had a practice marriage before that, so I was, just lasted a couple of years, and I got, too young, and my brain was not fully formed. So, so I didn't want to rush back into it. So,
So let's go to a very important topic in your life. A very, very important topic. Dog, cat, donkey, or dogs, cats, and donkeys. Why? Why so many?
It's partly a family thing. I think it's genetic. Because even back almost 25 years ago, I discovered relatives I didn't know I had, the cousins I didn't know I had in Belgium. My father's from Belgium. And they all had a bunch of animals too. Everybody in my family is this way.
Oh,
so I think it's
genetic.
Yeah, and my sister and one of my sisters and I were horse crazy, and she still has horses. She does mounted archery where you gallop on a horse and shoot at targets.
Okay, wow.
Only it to do this? It's crazy. My nephew's on the U.S. mounted archery team. But yeah, it's just we're just a family of animal lovers and horse crazy. I don't know where that comes from. And I did horses. It's why I never had money for a nice house or a nice car. And this is why Bob is such a blessing that he's like, okay, well, let's live in a dumpy little house and drive an old car so that you can spend all this money on your horses. But 20 years ago, I fell in love with a donkey. And then I learned he needed to have a second donkey because they're not happy by themselves. And then there were mini donkeys, and well, mini donkeys need a big donkey to protect them from coyotes.
Oh,
So then we got a big donkey. So now I don't have time to do anything with horses. So I had to make a choice, and I chose donkeys.
yeah. That's, I mean, it's amazing to see that. Also, the pictures of yourself with the car and the donkeys and so on. That's amazing. For myself, I had a dog, and you know him, Manolo, no?
I remember both of your dogs, yeah.
And and for me, it was a very hard experience when Manolo died, because I mean, the dog is there, you're playing with the dog is with you, and so on and so forth. And I don't know how to call this in English, but we need to sacrifice him. So he was too ill, so we need to put some injections so that he died.
Euthanize him, yeah.
And that was so hard for myself, and I cried like crazy, and did have a lot of pain, really pain. So that I decide I cannot afford to have again an animal that in few years is going to die, and I think I cannot replace Manolo. So this is really crazy. So, but you have a lot of animals, and you're getting new ones, and how do you deal with that? Because it's hard.
I mean, yes, some of them. Well, they're all going to have. Well, maybe not the donkeys, but most of them will have shorter lives, and it's so painful. I mean, poor Bob. Last night, somebody sent us a picture of all our animals are rescues, and a woman back in Colorado who ran a poodle rescue sent us a picture of Bob when we rescued it when we got our first poodle. She sent us that picture, and that dog died in 2011. And when I showed Bob the picture, he burst into tears and cried quite a long time. So it is sad. I just try to treasure the happy memories. And also, you know, the ones we've taken, a lot of them wouldn't have had a happy life without us. Sometimes they're animals that need extra medical care, or, you know, they have behavioral problems. And we're able to do that. We're able to take care of that. So, you know, it's a privilege to be able to do something that maybe other people wouldn't be able to do for whatever reason, and give this animal a good life. So it is hard though, and you know that there's going to be that hard time. And I've been through it so many times that I just accept it's part of the deal.
Yeah, of course.
We always have had up to 8 cats at any given time, and a couple of dogs a lot of the time. So over the years, there's a lot of little urns full of ashes in my basement.
When we have a finca in Gran Canaria, or my family has a finca in Canaria, and I think now there is only 4 or 5 cats. But in many years ago, when I was always living in there, and we have 16 or 17 cats.
Wow.
Yeah, that was crazy. This was crazy. And some of the cats, on the male one, they went away for days, and then sometimes they came back, sometimes they didn't. So there was, but there was not that pain, and there were so many. But nowadays it's different. So, in which part of US you were born?
I was born in Houston, Texas.
Houston, Texas. Okay. How was the childhood there?
Oh, I I was really lucky. I mean, we lived, even though we lived in the middle of Houston, we lived next to a big park and also a bayou, that's what we call them there,
Mhm.
a river and a creek. And we were just wild children. We just ran around in the woods and we had a
Okay.
lot of property. We had like an acre of land. I don't know what that is in metric, but we just ran wild. And then, of course, then we had the horses. So they were boarded at a stable. And,
Okay.
uh, so we spent, my sister and I were out with the horses every weekend, every day in the summer. So it was very, that's a very lucky upbringing. And I went to Catholic schools, but they were the good kind of Catholic schools back in, this is the 60s. So it was all Vatican II, liberal.
Are
Yeah.
you religious?
What's that?
Are you religious? Do
No,
you
I
believe?
call him an atheist, but back then, my
Yeah.
father, Belgian Catholic, he wasn't particularly religious either, but it was a good education. They were good schools.
Okay.
Uh, and my mother was a confirmed atheist, but from childhood, but her best friends were Catholic priests. So go figure.
Yeah.
They were always in our house drinking whiskey and smoking.
Yeah. I mean, in my family, it's not religious at all. So there's no. Um, my mother died 7 weeks ago.
I know. I'm so
Five,
sorry.
five, 5 weeks, 6 weeks ago, and my sister organized how do you call a mass for her in the church, no?
Mhm.
And I said to my other sister, I think mother would not like that because there in the church, she has nothing to do with that. She, I mean, and I have to laugh. We laugh because okay, this is typical because when people die, they do that and so on. But I think my mother could skip that. I think for her was not necessary at all. But and I grew up in that way. So in my whole family, there's no one who's religious. So
Well, my mother, same kind of thing. She just said, "I don't care what you do. I'm not going to be there." So we had a party,
okay,
uh, but she also didn't care like where she was buried or what would happen. But my mother, both my parents were in World War II in the military, and my
okay.
mother was a Marine, a U.S. Marine,
Oh,
and so she was eligible to be buried in Arlington National Cemetery in Washington D.C.
wow.
So that's what we did. She was cremated, and she's in I forget what they call them. They have a special word for where they put the ashes.
Mhm.
So we can at any time go and look. They have cameras. You can look at the little
Okay.
plaque.
Wow.
So she had a real ceremony, 21 gun salute, the whole business.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, yeah. So she didn't care about that, but we wanted to honor it that
Oh,
way.
of course.
And she did love having been a Marine. That was
Okay.
definitely one of the highlights of her life.
Yes. There are good memories also for you and your family.
Yeah.
Right.
She was a
I mean,
she was a role
this is.
model.
I mean, this is. I think this is a thing that only. I think that only happens in US. I think that's in other countries there's not. And I think US has so many good things, yeah, and also bad things.
A
So
lot of bad things.
there's
I'm glad my mother's not alive to see what's happening now.
yeah, but it's it's interesting. It's interesting to see that, and interesting how the things hopefully is moving in the right direction for the whole world. And that's interesting for you. What do you think? I mean, you're American, so this is always difficult. But for you, what is the best thing of America? What do you think?
Just so down on America right now. It's hard to say. Hmm. Well, I mean, I think that a lot of people do care about the planet and nature, especially in Vermont. But I think the fact that we have national parks and all kinds of parks and conservation, people are trying to preserve. the land and the planet for wildlife and for future generations to enjoy. And I know not all countries do great with that.
Mm.
And some countries do better, but I think the United States has done pretty good with that from starting a lot before other countries did it.
I mean, the country is very big, and you see that there is this quite diverse
Mm-hmm.
from Vermont till Texas.
Well, it is a land of opportunity. I mean, my father came as an immigrant after World War II and started business. Like you go to Germany, he started a business and was extremely successful. So unfortunately, people even in this first generation after that forget that immigrants were a good thing.
Yeah.
But there are so many inspiring stories out there, and it has been the land of opportunity. So.
Mm. Okay, I had a question here, but I think you already answered that. I wrote, how much influence had the Belgium genes in your life? But I think we are done with this question, right?
Okay.
So we are facing now the last minutes of the Agile testing days, or the Agile test, the Pepe Spa. And there are some questions that are always making, and they are mandatory, let's say in that way.
Okay.
And the question is, what is your favorite drink?
I'm gonna go with champagne.
Sorry?
Champagne.
Champagne. Wow.
Or it could be German sect, any kind of sparkling wine. Cava, Prosecco. Champagne might be.
Or the cava that I serve you at the speaker's dinner, right?
Yeah.
What is your favorite song at the bar?
My favorite song at the bar?
The song that you start dancing.
There's so many good songs. I think Girls Just Want to Have Fun. Cyndi Lauper.
Cyndi Lauper. Okay. Yeah. If you could choose, who would be your favorite person to talk at the bar? Who's that?
Wow. That's an interesting question. There's so many people. I guess it seems like a kind of cliche. There was somebody else I was thinking of the other day that I'd like to have dinner with that person, but I think somebody like Michelle Obama would be a really interesting person.
Yeah. I want to be invited. That could be amazing. Yeah, to talk really, because I think she's a very nice person. Yeah, and you can spend a nice evening just talking about anything.
So many different things. Yeah.
Yeah. So, do you have any confession to make to me today?
Like confession about what? I
don't know. You copy your first book from James Path, for example.
Yeah, I'm a big plagiarist.
Cheers.
I'm trying to think if there's anything I felt like I skipped over to get a job or something like that. Can't really think of anything like that. I mean, I think it was kind of a confession that I said, as a student, when I found that the career I wanted was being Black because I was a woman. I regret not taking that on, but I'm happy with the way things turned out. So,
yeah. I mean, sometimes it's difficult. I think when you are young and based on the society you are living in the moment. Okay, so I think it's very difficult to make decisions, and you need to be strong. You need to be also on another level. That's why it's, from my perspective, it's very difficult to judge someone because you don't know the whole situation. yeah, and you don't know what really happened there. So that's why.
But I know other people who did stand up for themselves and made a career. So
Yeah, but we are all different.
yeah, exactly.
We are all different.
Speaking of college, one of my confessions is I used to fall asleep in those big lectures where the professor's talking and you're with 100 people or 300 people. I used to fall asleep, and that habit carried on like through my whole professional life. It was if I was in a meeting that was a pretty boring meeting and I wasn't talking and I was just there to listen, it was so hard not to fall asleep. People used to
Yeah,
look
yeah,
at me and
yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah. No, I know that, and it's not getting better when you get older. So, did you miss a question? Do you want to say something that I haven't asked?
I didn't miss a question, but I realized, I mean, I thank you for having invited me to the first Agile Testing Days, but that's all down to Alessandro Colino. If it weren't for him, I wouldn't be where I am today because he introduced me to you and
Yeah,
he
we
helped.
will not be there without you too. I mean, I think that this is something that the people been there for the first time, that we all realize that what we are creating is special,
Mhm.
and we need to take care of all of us. And I think that some people realize that when we are in the conference, and you see, for myself, I mean, like I said, we give the space. Okay, we give it the space,
Mhm.
we set the frames for the things and so on. But you are the one who really do the things. And for me, it's always very nice. Not only that, um, we as community get a topic for the conference, and this topic every year change, and the community develop this topic in the conference, because this is something important, something that you are carrying on your rucksack, and you want to talk about that. And no matter if this is mental health, what we did many years ago, or other things that we're doing now. And this is important. The other think for myself is that we are doing the conference for 15 years. And in 15 years, we did not have behavior, because we are a lot of men, with a lot of women, also diverse, whatever we have there. So all the things you could have in this world is there. And this is very good for that. And we have no problem with that. So everybody is accepting everyone, everybody is respecting.
Mhm.
Or also for my team. I mean, we as a team, when I speak for myself, I speak also for my team.
Yeah.
We are so glad to see that it happens, because it could be really a big problem if you need to take care that the people behave, and that's not the problem. And also what we have seen, and we'll see the next editions also, there are people who are coming, and they see, okay, I don't fit here, and then they go, and that's fine.
Yeah.
And there are other people who are coming and say, oh my God, I didn't know that there is such a place, and this is my place. And like I said, I spoke with Tariq today, and Tariq is so when he said, that's it. There's no other place to be. This is the place. And you see, for example, Gerald Simon, also from the first year coming as yourself. And I remember, and the first year when he came with the suit and tie and so on, and then the last day of the conference, he came to me and said, Mr. Diaz, this is so crazy here. So I like it. So let's see. So, and I was like, oh, okay. So, and then he came the second year, the third year, the fourth year. So 15 years in a row, and he's bringing his people all the time. And he really also develops in this direction. So he understood that the doing that. And also what for me quite rewarding is to see that I mean, when you came, you already have your career, you had your name and so on. So you were well known and the people respect you and so on. But you see people like Alex Labedek, yeah, who really came also the first time or the second time when she was a tiny person in the community and trying to learn and so on. And you see how she developed and for myself, it's amazing to see that, because that is that what we want, that really to support the people, to support the community, the women that really had a difficult path that normally men have.
Well, so many people, but women in particular, have launched wonderful careers because of the support of Agile Testing Days. It's a safe space. Everybody's welcome. Everybody gets a chance, and you're always innovating. You know, you're always pushing the envelope and thinking of new things. I love the team
Yeah.
coaching for next year, and it's never the same thing. You could just rest on your laurels and do the same thing every year, and it would be fine. But you're always teaching something new.
Yeah, and especially the feeling of meeting the people again, the family again, community again, and the place where many people say, okay, that's the place where I want to meet again my buddies. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. Thanks so much for helping me or us on setting this conference. Yeah, thanks so much, dear Lisa. We are at the end of this Pepe's Bar. Thanks so much for being there, for accepting the invitation. Thanks so much for the wonderful talk or chat that we have. And yeah, big kiss to Bob.
Thank you, and big hugs from both of us.
Yeah, and take care.